I think I only slept for about 2, maybe 3 hours in total that night. However, when I finally did wake up, I found Meek and Destiny in the bathroom together, chatting and giggling like a couple high school girls. It was both cute and somewhat over the top, ooey-gooey, sticky sweet. Before I actually got out of bed, I sat up, yawned, and stretched like a waking cat. The small television was on, but turned way down, I suppose so as not to awaken me. While yawning and stretching, I saw flames on the TV and recognized the amusement park Meek and I had been at last night. I had to strain to listen as the volume was turned nearly all the way down. I crawled like a toddler to the foot of the bed and listened. Once the county fire department had the fire under control, police discovered a fireproof filing cabinet filled with video recordings of minors being forced to perform depraved sexual acts with the yet-to-be-identified man, posing as a security guard at the abandoned World of Fun amusement park. "What?" I gasped. "Alvin, sweetie, is that you? Are you up now, honey baby child?" Destiny sang from the bathroom. I swung my feet over the side of the bed and forced myself to get up even though I was still half asleep and in complete shock over what I had just heard and seen. Destiny was styling Meek's hair while going on about how Meek was going to look when he finished growing. Meek seemed to be basking in the attention he was receiving. At this point, I hadn't noticed yet what Meek was wearing. I guess I was still asleep and still thinking with the news broadcast. "Morning," I moaned, while not yet realizing that I was standing there, wearing nothing but a wet goodnight and picking the eye boogers out of the corners of my eyes. "Baby, it's not quite morning, but it will be before you know it," Destiny said in that same Mary Poppins voice she'd used last night. As soon as she had said that, she and Meek turned toward me. Alvin," Meek started to say. I stopped rubbing the sleep from my eyes and looked into Meek's eyes. He was gesturing with his eyes to my sagging goodnight. I quickly jumped backward and grabbed the bedspread off the nearest bed and covered myself. "Sweet child, you don't have to hide anything from Mama Destiny," she said as she stepped around Meek, and I saw that all she had on was a pair of pink panties and a matching bra. I believe that is the first time in my life I ever saw transvestite in just panties and a bra. Oddly, the obvious question as to where her adult-sized wiener and balls were never came to my mind. I took a deep breath, blew it out through puckered lips, and allowed the bedspread to drop to the hotel room floor. "Now that took guts," Destiny said as she came over and kissed the top of my head. "Alvin, you look weird," Meek said. It was only then that I realized that my friend Meek was standing there wearing pastel yellow girl's panties and matching bra, and nothing else. What was more shocking than seeing him in panties and a bra was the fact that he actually had breast. While covering my nipples with my hands, I shot back with, "You got a lot of room to talk." Meek was standing before me, no longer looking like a teenaged boy, but instead a fully formed woman. "How do I look?" he asked as he spun around, showing off his panties. As he spun, I could see a slight bulge in the back and knew that he had his teenaged junk tucked between his legs so as not to have the obvious male bulge in front. I hadn't noticed that bulge on Destiny, but then again I hadn't been looking for it. With that being said, I am sure she too was tucked. You look like a girl," I exclaimed. "That's the idea," Meek sang out, sounding rather feminine while lifting his arms up as Destiny draped a dress down over Meek's body. "Oh my goodness," I exclaimed as the dress fell into place. "You look, well, not like a teenage girl. You look like a beautiful lady." Meek blushed and twirled, causing his pretty, yellow dress to flare. Oddly, it was the high heels he was wearing that I had keyed in on. Until his spun, I hadn't even noticed the yellow spiky-heeled shoes. "How are you standing in those?" I asked. Meek shrugged. "It's easy." He then demonstrated by taking a few steps toward me, leaning down and kissing me on the cheek. I know I was blushing because I could feel my face burning. "We don't have to worry about anyone recognizing you like that," I said, and then added, "I also like your yellow toenails." "You think?" Meek asked in response to my comment about no one recognizing him. He also held out his hands to show me his fingernails were also painted yellow to match his outfit. The transformation was simply remarkable because he not only looked but was acting exactly like a girl. "Meek, old buddy, if I didn't know better, I'd want to date you," I confessed. "Meek doesn't work for me now." he said thoughtfully while looking into the mirror. I agree, Destiny commented. I then suggested, how about something hot like Bambi or Bubbles? Oh, Alvin, be serious. Destiny said with a seed of motherliness to her voice. I am serious. I said, but you got to have a name that is as hot as you are. Meek walked over to me, leaned down, and gave me a gentle kiss on my left cheek. That is about the sweetest thing anyone has ever said to me, Meek said. I blushed and thoughtlessly reached up to rub the kiss from my cheek. Careful, you'll just rub it in deeper, Meek sang while touching his finger to the tip of my nose. He then turned back around and walked toward the mirror, giving me a show of his backside, which was hidden slightly by the veil of yellow. I like the name Lynn, Meek said while tossing his hair, which seemed to have grown several inches overnight. I later found out that he had hair extensions, which both gave his hair length and volume, further adding to the illusion. Oh, I know, I exclaimed a little too loudly, Mindy Lynn. Why Mindy? Destiny asked. That one really pretty lady with the feathers that came on stage after you last night was called Mindy Rose, I said. And why Lynn? Meek asked. I shrugged. I dunno, just sounds pretty. Mindy Lynn, Meek said into the mirror and then repeated it several times, each time with a slightly different tone and body language. I like it. I think I even look like a Mindy Lynn. He then turned around all excited and walked toward me as quickly as those yellow heels would allow him. I hadn't expected him to do what he did next. I suppose he was so caught up in the excitement of his transformation and his brand new name that he hadn't thought about what he was going to do. He simply did it. I also suppose I was caught so off guard that I hadn't thought to stop him. Thank you for my new name, he said as he leaned down and kissed me right on the lips, and I'm not talking about a mother kissing her son sort of kiss, but like a woman kissing a man sort of kiss. It lasted about 3 seconds, but it seemed a heck of a lot longer than that at the time. Oh my! Destiny exclaimed with a hand to her heart. Meek stammered, unable to believe he had just done what he just done. Though I knew I was brick red with embarrassment, I did my best to play it off. I licked my lips and said, you taste like lemon drops. Even through his makeup, I could tell he was blushing heavily. Lemon kiss lip gloss. Destiny sang as if she were reciting a commercial jingle. Are you going to take another shower? Destiny asked me. Having forgotten that I had been standing there in just a very wet goodnight, I actually blushed even more, so much so that my cheeks burned as though I had a bad sunburn. Somehow I managed to bob my head in a yes action. Did you? I asked Meek. Apparently over his embarrassment, Meek gave me a queerish grin as he said, yes, I had a shower last night, and again this morning, while you were still sleeping. He then turned away from me and walked back to the mirror to gaze at himself, herself, some more. Suddenly the events of yesterday evening came flooding back. Still staring at the back of Meek, I was no longer seeing him in his pretty, yellow dress, but instead curled up on the floor of that amusement park bathroom stall after having been forced to give that security guard a blowjob. What's the matter, sweetheart? Destiny asked after having caught a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. Huh? What? I stammered, oh, nothing. Sorry, nothing. I walked slowly past Meek and Destiny, all the while still not seeing Mindy Lynn but the molested Meek. What? He asked like he was expecting me to make some kind of snide remark. I shook my head, not in response to him, but to get those images out of my mind. Destiny called after me, Alvin sweetie, make sure you use cream rinse on your hair and let it set for at least 5 minutes before you rinse. We had to use a lot of chemicals on your hair and now you need to put some love back into it.